Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word into my Hungarian Grand Prix roundup stroke review type thing. It wasn't the most exciting race in the world. Didn't get the heart rate, if I'm being completely honest, guys. Couple of moments, some good controversial talking points, as is Formula One these days. It all goes hand in hand with controversy, doesn't it? We'll start, as we always do, though, before we get into those, with a look at the race result. And believe me, guys, the result does not tell the full story. Not by a mile. It was Sebastian Vettel who took victory at the Hungaroring, finishing just under a second clear of teammate Kimi Räikkönen. Valtteri Bottas third place, 12.4 seconds behind. Again, does not tell the full story, nor does Lewis Hamilton in fourth. Max Verstappen fifth. Fernando Alonso a fantastic sixth place. We'll come on to him towards the end of the video. Carlos Sainz seventh. Perez eighth. Ocon ninth. Van Dorn in 10th. Flicking over to the page, Jolyon Palmer. He finished the race, guys. Jolyon Palmer finished the race pretty incident-free, I'd have to say. So probably not points, but a confidence boost for him. The Saubers bring up the rear, as you can see there. Nico Hülkenberg officially classified as 17th in a lap down, but for me, he pulled up into the garage and retired, so that's a DNF. Paul Resta, solid one race outing, but he retired with mechanical issues towards the end of the Grand Prix. Grosjean there in the Haas didn't finish either. Driver of the day was Kimi Räikkönen, rightly so, and fastest lap, Fernando Alonso on a 1:20.182. That's Fernando Alonso in the McLaren Honda fastest lap. Now, I missed a name off on that list, and that was, as you can see there, Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull and his DNF. It is probably the best place to start, seeing as it was at the start of the Grand Prix. And Daniel Ricciardo was taken out by teammate Max Verstappen in turn 2. If you didn't catch it, guys, basically, Verstappen went into turn 1, tried to avoid Raikkonen, ran wide, dirty and cold tyres, goes into turn 2, teammate on his outside, Max locks up, straight into the Honey Badger, and he is out of the race with a puncture and a broken radiator. Or a punctured radiator, actually. There was water and oil everywhere, so yeah. Not Max's brightest move, I think we could all agree on that. However, totally blown out of proportion by Sky Sports F1 and quite a few people on social media calling him a dirty driver. Very quickly here, very opinionated moment. If you think that kind of mistake, which is what it was, makes Max Verstappen a dirty driver, then seriously, sit down and have a word with yourself, because I don't agree that makes him a dirty driver. He's done some stuff in the past that you could argue is a little bit cheeky and probably a bit dirty, but that was, for me, cold tyres, dirty tyres. Yeah, probably should have backed out of it, but they're racing on lap 1, guys. I mean, come on. They're racing drivers. We want to see them racing. They're going wheel to wheel. Mistakes are going to happen. We have seen bigger, more controversial incidents than that on the first lap. He's locked a wheel. He's hit it. Had he locked a wheel and hit a Haas, nobody would have said anything about it. But because it was his teammate, everyone's kicking off. And I love Daniel Ricciardo, but I think he needs to reassess what he's saying. Max Verstappen, whether he likes it or not, has made a mistake. It's not a sore loser thing. He actually said he was a sore loser. Didn't like losing out to his teammate. Well, first of all, no driver does. They want to beat their teammate first off, and they want to be the best. So that's that. They have to. So they're not going to like being overtaken by their teammate. But it's not like he didn't brake and just went, I'm not having that, and drove straight into the side of him. He's locked a wheel. He snatched a brake on the inside. Christian Horner said that. Locked up. Hit his teammate. Genuine mistake. As I said, cold tyres, dirty tyres. There you go, first lap incident, but no. The stewards in their ever-consistent ways gave him a 10-second time penalty, which meant he had to stop for 10 seconds before his car could be serviced at the pit stop. Interesting enough, only one penalty worse than the one that Sebastian Vettel got for deliberately driving into Lewis Hamilton. But anyway, let's not get into that one. Let's not go back to Baku. That was a long time ago. I get people's point of view on it. I honestly do, guys, but I just think it's all been blown out of proportion. You know, first lap incidents. There were other incidents as well. Let's not forget that. Grosjean and Hülkenberg, if you're going to give a penalty for that on Verstappen and Ricciardo, yeah, okay, Hülkenberg didn't retire, but no further action. Racing incident, first lap incident. I think they did the same with Sainz and Alonso. No further action, despite the fact Sainz quite clearly, with contact, pushed Alonso off the road. Yet then, the stewards towards the end of the race give Kevin Magnussen a 5-second time penalty for forcing one of the Renaults off track. Where's the consistency? It was exactly the same incident without contact as the Alonso Sainz one, but nothing came of it. Yet he gets a penalty. I don't understand where the consistency is. If you're going to give out a penalty for Max Verstappen's incident with Ricciardo, fine. But then Grosjean should have had a penalty for the incident with Hülkenberg. Sainz should have had a penalty for the incident with Alonso. And for some reason then, Magnussen got one for the incident with Palmer. Or with Hülkenberg, So I don't quite understand where the consistency is. But I think we're getting a little bit fed up of race stewards. If they're not going to be consistent, get rid of them. I mean, it's a stupid thing to say. I'm fully aware of that. We need people to officiate. We need referees in these things. But if you're not going to be consistent, what's the point in laying down the law? Nobody knows where the lay of the land is right now, but what do I know? I'm just somebody that sits on here and rants every now and again, and slowly getting more and more angry as I go on to that. So let's move on before I burst some kind of blood vessel or something along those lines. I guess the place to go after that then, to try and calm myself down a little bit, is team orders. Yes, those team orders have reared their ugly head again. I'm not anti-team orders. It's a team sport. They're important. They're absolutely important, but used in the right way, which once again, they have not been today, particularly by Ferrari. We're going to come on to Mercedes in a minute, but Ferrari. Sebastian Vettel, who incidentally is desperate for the halo to be introduced to Formula One to improve safety, but is quite happy to drive left at 200 miles an hour on the straight because he's got a broken steering wheel or some tyre issues, but whatever. He was out front, considerably slower than Raikkonen. Raikkonen would have run away with that race had Ferrari done the switch, but they refused and ordered Kimi Raikkonen to stay behind Vettel. Now, although we never heard the order, Raikkonen did say on team radio, so is this what we're going to be doing for the rest of the race? And his engineer said, confirm, Kimi. So for me, that is an order, a multi-21, but in this case, a multi-57. So that's what they've said. You are staying behind your teammate. If Ferrari, are in this for the money, which we all know surely they are because the Constructors' Championship is what pays, doesn't matter which driver finishes in front so long as they get the points. What this has clearly shown is Kimi Raikkonen is number 2 driver. Vettel's contract has made his position perfectly clear. Team orders are fine if I benefit. And it also shows how much Ferrari really value the Constructors' Championship because let's face it, they don't need the money. Yes, they've got their road car business which pays for them to be in the sport. They've got massive sponsors, but crucially, they also get historical payments. Yeah, so Ferrari don't really care in that respect. I guess so is the Drivers' Championship what they're prioritising? I don't know. I don't understand Ferrari's point of view on this. I really don't. Surely for Ferrari, the Constructors is priority. Mercedes have proven it today with their team orders. Again, I'll come on to that in just a second. Kimi Raikkonen should have been let through. He was there to protect Sebastian Vettel, which I get in one respect. I suppose their point of view is Kimi's quicker, so at least he can defend from the Mercedes, so we'd still get the 1-2. But it just reeks of, Kimi, you are number 2, mate. That is that. Sign this deal to stay for another year, and then you'll be our Rubens Barrichello again. Which, okay, fine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I just don't like it. I don't like that. Austria 2002 was a prime example of where team orders can go wrong. This not as extreme as that. I said race fixing. It's probably not as extreme as race fixing, but it certainly is scripting to a point, I guess, and I just don't like it. Mercedes implied team orders as well, told Lewis Hamilton to pass Bottas, told Bottas to get out of the way, but then said if Hamilton cannot pass Raikkonen, we'll give the position back, okay? Hamilton had 5 laps to do it, didn't do it. They gave him an extra 5 laps, still couldn't do it. Hamilton, on the final lap, backed off and let Bottas through. I am not the world's biggest Lewis Hamilton fan. I will hold my hands up and say that. You have got to give the guy respect and credit for that. He could have stuck his finger up to Mercedes and said, hey, I'm going for the Drivers' Championship, guys. I am not giving that position back, but he didn't. He handed it back. And if he loses a championship now by 2 or 3 points, everyone's going to look at that incident. Flip side of that coin, though, if Bottas wins the championship by 2 or 3 points, everyone's going to look at that incident in a completely different way. So, although I don't like team orders the way they were implemented by Ferrari, if you're going to have to use them, at least they did it in a team sense. You know, they've not prioritized a driver. They've put the team first. So they've swapped the drivers around, didn't work out, swapped them back, same amount of points for the team. That's what Ferrari should have done, and Raikkonen would have got his first win for like forever. And I think that's probably why he got driver of the day. I mean, he drove very, very well, don't get me wrong, but I think he got it, not out of sympathy, but I think people understood that had Vettel been told to get out of the way, Raikkonen would have cruised that, absolutely cruised that race. I guess this is easier said than done, but basically Hamilton and Raikkonen both said, I'm quicker than my teammate, wanting team orders. Overtake him then. I know that's easier said than done, particularly with the cars the way they are now, with the aero making it more difficult to overtake. My gut feeling is always to turn around and say, well, overtake him then. If you're that much quicker, overtake him. And I think this proves, 1, how easy it is to force your team into team orders, but 2, how hard it is for cars to overtake. We were given these new cars and all this new stuff for an exciting 2017, and although we've got a very close championship fight and some very, very quick cars, it's just proving almost impossible to follow and overtake on tracks like Hungary. Now, the Hungaroring is notoriously difficult to overtake on anyway. It's never been a big overtaking circuit, but that track has now pushed 2017's aero problems into the limelight, and it was quite clear. We could see it quite clearly, and it's frustrating, but yeah, I don't know, guys, what are they going to do? I mean, next year we've got the Halo coming in. That'll have some aerodynamic negatives and positives because they're going to stick some stuff on as well. Maybe the cars are going to be heavier. Well, they will be heavier because they're having more stuff strapped on them, so that's probably going to take away from it. I think on Formula One as it is at the moment, I might do a video on this in the future, or during the summer break, on where Formula One goes from 2020. I think, guys, we all just need to sit, take a deep breath and accept this is what we're kind of stuck with now for the next couple of years. Let's see if they can do a better deal with the next Concord agreement or whatever Liberty Media want to strike as an agreement with the teams, and hope they get it right that time around. Formula One notoriously doesn't get it right, but you never know. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. It's very rare, though, in history that they get it spot on, so let's hope they can with the next agreement. Let's move on, though, and look at some positive things from the Grand Prix, and there is only one place to start in terms of positivity, and that is with a young Spaniard called Fernando Alonso. I don't know if you've heard of him. He looks good, does Fernando. He drove his way to 6th place in the McLaren, by far their best result, and more importantly, their best performance of the season. Okay, it's not a power track, so it's all about the chassis. But McLaren showing they build good cars as ever. And if they had a Mercedes engine in that car, where would they be? Will that put Mercedes off supplying them for 2018? I guess time will tell. He just drove really well, Fernando. A couple of issues with his compatriot Carlos Sainz. Not happy with his driving, if we're being honest. And of course, he was forced off track by the youngster in turn 1 early in the race. But Fernando drove impeccably to 6th place, 8 points, and the fastest lap of the race. And it's not like he bolted on some incredibly quick soft tyres right at the end. They're tyres he'd had on for a while and still managed to post the fastest lap. Fantastic for Fernando. Absolutely brilliant. Needed that. McLaren do move off the bottom of the constructors. Stoffel Van Dorn got himself a point as well. Fantastic for him. Despite all his mechanical problems this season, or the team's mechanical problems, I do highly still rate Stoffel Van Dorn. He really does look good, and 10th place today was solid for him. Force India, 8th and 9th, more points for Perez and Ocon. They've been fantastic this season. It's going to be so hard for Force India to let either of them go this year. It really is. They need to keep them on for next season. I would imagine, unless Renault come knocking for Ocon, that this will be the lineup at Force India next year, because of course Ferrari are set to confirm Vettel and Raikkonen for 2018, but a fantastic result nevertheless for them. And of course Carlos Sainz, we need to mention him, kind of skipped over him, sorry there mate. 7th place, more points for Toro Rosso. He's another driver, he needs to be in a top team, if not next year, certainly the year after, so hopefully Carlos will get a deal somewhere soon. Worst case scenario, he'll stay at Toro Rosso, but we shall see how that pans out. I think they're the main talking points from the race, to be honest, but I do have to have a word about Paul Di Resta. We have to. It's the only race potentially he's going to be in this season, so we've got to mention him in a review. He eventually DNF'd. Turn 1, good call. Let everybody else basically go, and he just kind of negotiated the first couple of corners on his own effectively. Drove okay, not spectacular, but the guy pre-race had about 5 laps. So what do you expect? I think he did very, very well. Retired with mechanical issues. I'm just going to pop my tinfoil hat on here. I'm not convinced as to how real those mechanical issues were. The team radio sounded very kind of, I don't know, how can I put it? Paul Pitt, we've got mechanical issues. Basically, we don't want to ruin this car any further. You're not going to score points. You've done well, mate. We've got a few laps to go. Let's get this in, and then we can either change a gearbox so Felipe gets a nice new gearbox without penalty for the next race, or save wear and tear on the engine. I'm hoping that's not true, but it is a possibility. But Paul Di Resta, I think, a very, very solid outing, and proving that he deserves a seat somewhere in Formula One. And again, I've said it before. I said it before my 8-month break from the channel that I was surprised that he didn't get a seat in 2014, because he's a solid driver, as Paul Di Resta, he really is. But I think the best thing for him this weekend is he got to spend a couple of hours away from the likes of David Croft. So I think he's probably over the moon with the fact he was in a Williams, and not because he got to race, but just because he got a break from Sky Sports, which is something we all kind of wish we could have. Let's not get into that one though. But like I say, guys, that's probably all there was to cover in that Grand Prix. It wasn't a thriller, not by a long way. It got tense at times, but tense yet processional, I probably is the best way to put it. You just can't overtake around a Hungaroring with these cars, but hey, hopefully it will improve in the future. Before I go though, let's take a quick look at the Drivers' Championship and how it stands going into the summer break. So Sebastian Vettel extends his lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship, 14 points clear of Lewis Hamilton now, who is just 19 clear of Valtteri Bottas. That's why Mercedes had to switch that around, because they can't favour one driver over the other. Could that, not infighting, well, I guess infighting, but could that Mercedes driver rivalry cost one of them the Drivers' Championship? All that matters to Mercedes, though, is that they're picking up the points in terms of the constructors. Daniel Ricciardo, 4th place, but now just 1 point clear of Kimi Raikkonen. Max Verstappen, well back in 6th. He needs a decent second half of the season. I know he's had reliability issues, but he really needs a better second half of the season. Perez, Ocon, Sainz, and Hulkenberg round out the top 10, as they have for a while. In the constructors then, Mercedes remain top on 357 points. Ferrari closed the gap very, very slightly after their 1-2 finish, but still quite a way off, to be fair. Red Bull, a comfortable 3rd. Force India, a comfortable 4th. Williams, not so comfortable in 5th place. Toro Rosso are coming for you guys. Keep an eye over your shoulder. Toro Rosso having a very, very solid season with one very good driver and one inconsistent but can be very good driver in Daniel Kvyat. Will he be there next year? We shall find out. And what engine will they be running? That's the big question, isn't it? Possibly a Honda. We shall see. That's a story for another day. Haas, Renault unchanged. McLaren, the big change in the championship. They climbed to 9th on 11 points. Prize money will be crucial for them with the lack of sponsors on the car, etc. But Sauber are going to need a crazy race if they're going to close the gap on the Woking team. But that is it, guys. Formula One then moves into its 4-week summer break. 4 weeks. Oh, I'm okay. I can handle the emotion. We'll get through it, guys. We always do. It'll soon crop up. It'll be Spa in 4 weeks' time. I'll be back next week with another couple of videos. And don't forget, guys, F1 2017 is out on August 25th and career mode will be back on the channel. There will be a video going up about that in the next week or so. That is for sure. And I'm hoping this time we don't have to move house halfway through and lose internet for 8 months, and I might actually be able to finish the career mode this time. Well, hey, maybe, you never know. We shall see, but I shall see you all, guys, next week. As ever, thank you so much for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.